Okay, I hope everybody can see my screen okay. Please let me know if not, and we'll get that fixed. But welcome everybody to episode 2 of season 2 of MoFilm's MoLabs. This is our online webinar series where we talk all things AI. We cover lots of different topics and subjects. Today, you'll be hosted by myself, Harriet, senior creative producer based here in the UK at MoFilm, with my colleague Sophie, who is exec producer, also based in the UK. We are running the show for season 2. So you may have seen us in our last episode where we talked about ChatGPT for filmmakers, and you can check that video out on our YouTube channel if you want to go back and have a look at some cool tips on how to use ChatGPT for filmmaking. Today, however, we are going to be talking to the wonderful Caitlin, who you can see on screen, who is head of customer success at Altered.ai. Now, Altered.ai is a speech-to-speech and text-to-speech AI platform, and it is an amazing tool that I've felt very lucky to have an opportunity to play around with it for a while now. And we thought it was really interesting to be able to bring it to the MoLabs community, and for you guys to have a little bit of a demo and to talk through some of the ways that it could be used in filmmaking. So without further ado, let's get started. Caitlin, I'll hand over to you.
Excellent. Well, first off, thanks so much for having us, myself, Harriet, and Sophie. We're really excited. We always love talking directly to creators and to communities of creators. As in, you guys are the folks who are taking this tech and hyper creating and hyper iterating in your projects. And it's always exciting to see how folks are using our tech. So first off, a little bit about me. I am a voice actor, have spent my whole career in voice and joined the Altered team. And what I do is I handle all of our client relations. So I work with individual creators, studios, video game studios, and we help you guys get to know the product, answer any questions, but we also, which we'll talk about in a little bit, we create bespoke voices as well. So I work directly with creative teams and kind of become the translator between what we have as creators, as a creative community, have a language that we talk about our projects. And then I work with our R&D department, our machine learning team, and to translate what your needs are, hopefully over into the tech side. So quick lay of the land for today. So first off, I'll tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do at Altered.ai. I'll show you how our tools work. We'll talk a little bit through how you can use our tools through pre-production, post-production, and in production itself. And then we'll hop into the studio. Altered Studio is our product, and I'll show you how it works so you can get a bit of samples. I always think hearing is believing when it comes to synthetic voice. So we'll hop into the studio, and then we'll wrap up. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and talk a bit further about the space as a whole. I do have something for those who hang around to the very end, so do hang around. We'd love for you to kind of get to know us, and we have a little treat at the end for everyone. So first off, who are we? So Altered.ai is founded by an ex-Googler. We have quite a large R&D department, and we are one of the first speech-to-speech companies in the world. Again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And we firmly believe that synthetic voice, we work every day to create realistic and performance-driven voice. That's kind of what we hang our hat on. We also saw a space to provide this tech that typically is only owned by those big tech giants to the individual creators. So we really wanted to democratize this tech and make it accessible for creators of all sizes. And again, I said this in the beginning, but it allows the creator to hyper create, so to elevate your projects. But we also see tools like this allowing for hyper iteration, getting into your workflows and really allowing to expedite the process, to iterate very quickly, and then of course do things at a lower cost. So what is speech to speech? If you could pop back one slide for me, Harriet. There we go. So speech to speech is performance-driven speech synthesis. It means two things. You have a source speaker who speaks into the microphone, what we would call the voice actor or the performer. And then through a series of models and through our tech, you can morph that voice to sound like somebody else. So it's changing a speaker's vocal characteristics while capturing their performance, or what I like to call the storytelling that voice actors and that we all bring to our projects. At Altered, we do this in two ways. We have Altered Studio, which allows you to have a voice co-pilot. So take your performance, and using our library of voices, you can sound like multiple different characters that are all in our library. Or we create digital twins. So that's creating a clone or a voice clone of your voice, or working with a client and a voice actor to create their voice clone, and then being able to use that in your projects. So when we think about speech to speech, these are kind of the two ways that we see them working. Don't mind going to the next slide. Excellent. So because we're speech to speech driven first, you can see this kind of in three different products that we have. So, and it's all in one space called Altered Studio. So the first thing we offer is that post-production. So this is creating voiceover content. You generate it within a few seconds, and you can do that either locally on a desktop app that we provide or on our web servers. And this is that kind of things for ads, for corporate e-learning, for narration for films. This is generated in real time in 1 to 3 seconds. Then we go into actual real time, and this is some of our newest technology that's released in the project. This is, I can change my voice while we're talking on a call, just like this. And we have one of the lowest latencies in the market. So you can change your voice for immersive experiences. If you're creating an avatar and want to do a voice where your clients interact with that avatar in real time, this allows you the ability to change one's voice in real time. And then we also have local machine voice cloning. This is tech that we're currently continuing to iterate upon, but this allows you to create that digital twin, that voice replica on your own computer in your own time. We also offer this as a service where we create bespoke models for all types of clients. Great. So how is Altered used? So I wanted to kind of walk through the process of filmmaking with you guys, as you guys are the experts, and show you where we've seen Altered being used. So let's start with pre-production. So in Altered Studio, you have that ability to create content creations, that post-production voiceover. You also have that in speech to speech. So taking a performance of yours, changing it to sound like 5 or 6 different characters, or we have it in text to speech. And we have something called emotive speaking style text to speech. This allows you to go ahead and apply different styles like a whisper, a shout, a news read, etc., to text to speech, so that your text to speech has some emotions. And these really work hand in hand together, so that you can do things like personalized and dynamic branding, or you can, again, mix the three together to do some really cool immersive stuff. Where we have seen Altered's post-production really successful in pre-production is in places such as really early on in the process, maybe in that script writing, in that scratch VO recording, helping you find the voice that typically you come up with and have a description on page, but this really allows that description that you've written down on page to be heard, and maybe allows you to bring voice much earlier in the process than traditionally possible. Some other interesting spaces, if you're in the animation space, this allows you to animate to voice, whereas typically animation is done visually and then the voice is brought in much later. So we see places in the scripting, the storyboarding phase, that scratch VO, as well as really assisting with helping you find the perfect voice for the project. So in that auditioning and that casting, finding the vocal characteristics that you're really looking for. If you pop to the next slide, it goes into production. So we create voices, like I said, for those digital twins, or using our voices in the library. They're commercially licensed. We have 20 different professional voices and 800 plus common voices that all of our creators can use on different subscription levels. And these are commercially licensed. So you could use this to narrate your films. You could create Loop Group and Walla with multiple different voices. If you're working with a brand, you can work with them to really hone their brand voice. Or if they have a very specific brand voice, a celebrity voice, or somebody who's been the voice for the company for years, we can work with you and them to create a bespoke model that then you could use across multiple different kinds of marketing material, learning material, ads, etc. The other places that has been interesting, I think, to point out, we work with a wide variety of clients. And sorry, I just got, there we go. You all of a sudden minimized. We work with a wide variety of clients. And so one of the interesting spaces that we've also seen our tech being used is to conceal the identity of source speakers. So I think when we watch news and documentaries, and we're working with interviews with clients and actors that need their identity concealed, we're used to that black framed box. And this really allows that interviewee to speak open and freely, and for us to hear their story. Our inflection, our tone and in tone and pace is our storytelling, and that's really what we all gravitate to. But changing their vocal characteristics, so really allowing to conceal that identity, I think is a really interesting use case that we've seen. And then popping over to post-production, this is a space that, again, we've seen a lot of clients use Altered. This is everything from having those digital twins and allowing production to continue on when voice actors are unavailable, using vintage material and working with one's estate to create and recreate voices for future projects is really fascinating. As well as someone sick and can't get into the studio, if they have their digital twin, that would still allow you to do things in post in ADR, do pickups, as well as dubbing and localization. So allowing the same voice that we all love and know to be used across multiple languages through a variety of projects. Within Altered Studio, we also have several AI editing tools and mixing tools, allowing you to dub material using text-to-speech or speech-to-speech using our case is working with children actors, and there's a lot of legalities around how long a child can be on set. Typically, children actors are working on multiple projects at one time. And so especially young boy actors, their voice changes at a certain age. So having a model allows them to capture their voice prior to puberty, and then be able to maintain that across a production if they're on that break age where it's going to change. But allowing them to perform. So you're still getting their essence of performance and the special thing they bring to the project, but it's allowing them to use a voice that they can no longer access because their voice is broken. Excellent. So I hope that kind of answers how, and just really quickly gives you some ideas of where Altered is being used in the production process. I think another interesting place that we're starting to see is in this real-time immersive filmmaking and creative projects. Again, that's within production and would allow you to use this technology in real time to create a variety of projects that I think, just as this tech has grown in the last year, it's hard to believe that really ChatGPT kind of made a splash in the beginning of 2023, and we're not even a year to that yet. Oh, a couple of days, I guess, but we're getting closer. This technology is continuing to develop at light speed, and our R&D is quite committed to being able to continue to develop along with it and be at the front of that tech revolution. And we are really seeing some interesting cases coming up for real-time voice synthesis, which will be fascinating to see. So if it's cool with you, Harriet, I'll start sharing my screen and we'll pop over and show you a bit of the inside of Altered Studio. So give me 1 second and we'll go from here.
Thank you. There's so many use cases that you've gone through, which I'm just constantly thinking like, oh yeah, that would totally apply to us and what we do. And I'm sure for filmmakers out there as well, I think it's super relevant. So excited to see what you're going to show us in the tool today.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to hear kind of what people are using. I'm always interested to see how people are using the tech. I feel like there's a new creator every day, kind of coming up with some interesting ways, which is always exciting. So let me just give you a quick lay of the land. So this is Altered Studio. When you sign in, you'll see all of these different options of tools to use. This again kind of all falls into the three buckets that I talked about: post-production, content creation, creating those voiceover samples using text to speech or speech to speech, real-time voice morphing, allowing you models to change your voice in real time on video applications, Discord, in-game playing, etc. As well as rapid voice creation. So in the product currently, we allow you to create a vocal clone in a rapid voice clone. And then we have other opportunities to create those digital twins as well. So since we're moving through, this is just, we're gonna get to a project that I've pulled up that I'm working on that's gonna show you how the product works. But I just want to show you quickly, this is our simplified voice morphing. This works great if you're looking to use our speech-to-speech technology to convert one file at a time into another speaker. We have text to speech. It's a motive text to speech, so it's speaking style. So you can see here where I'm highlighting different styles of speech. This would allow you to take our library of voices, which we have 20 professional and 800 plus common, and then apply speaking styles to text. So for example, I typed in "Once upon a time I met a prince," and I'll just play through some samples here.
Once upon a time I met a prince.
And this is Eddie, so you can see the different accents.
Once upon a time I met a prince.
And this is our lovely Ava.
Once upon a time, I met a prince.
And then you would be able to go through and say, okay, I actually want to make Eddie shout. And then you could apply that and then regenerate your text to speech. The rapid voice cloning allows you to build all within the user interface itself. This takes up to 5 seconds of training data to create a voice. And then lastly, the real time. This is the interface of the real time. I could change my voice to sound like another on this call. I know real time is not what we're focusing on today, but it is there, and we recommend that if you're interested, just hop online, sign up for a free trial, and give it a whirl so that you can see how it works yourself. So let's listen to some samples. So I'm working here in our advanced editor because I wanted to show you as much as I could in a little amount of time as possible. This is our advanced editor, and you have 3 different windows to be looking at here. So we have the transcription window, which is a transcription of the audio file that I've put in. We have the history here that walks us through what we've done in this project. And then we have the properties window, which I think is probably the most appealing to everyone here. And this is where you as a creator can use these dials, use these voices in our library to create your voiceover content. And then lastly, we have this waveform down here, which will show everything, every adjustment we've made here. You'll see it being affected on the waveform itself for all of you audio engineers who like to work with the waveform instead of text. So I wanted to create 3 different voices using one audio file that I put in. The audio file is myself. I read a game script of 3 different characters, and that I wanted to perform as 3 different characters, but change my vocal characteristics using that voice morphing to sound like 3 distinct people. And then I wanted to use the dials within Altered Studio to help craft my final performance, and then export that out into an audio file that I could use for my projects. So let's first just listen to the audio that I put in. So this is me.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position. Understood, Commander. Delta 2, we need artillery support. Do you copy? Copy. And en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
So you can see that I just loaded a file. I used our speech to text effect here, which transcribed everything from the audio. I didn't really make any adjustments here, and that it hasn't applied any speakers yet because it sees that it was just one voice going in. If you had a duologue or 3 people in a session, it would break those, be able to figure out what voice is in what line, and it would diacritize those speakers for you. So then I start the fun part. So then I start to create these voiceovers. So the first character that I want to work with is just in these first 4 seconds. And so I've come into our library. You can see several of our voices here. These are our professional voices, and I worked with 3 of them in this project. So I've selected my voices, and I'm going to use Austin, Kamal, and Jennifer. And for these first 4 seconds, I'm going to work with Jennifer. The first decision I have to make once I decide on a character that I'm looking for is I need to decide on what model I want to use. And we can have several different types of models here. And this really depends on your final use case. So I'll just point out a couple here. One of the ones that I'm going to use today is called Accent Changer. This converts my accent, my American accent, to sound like a Scottish or an English speaker. If I chose Timbre 2.5, this is our multilingual model. This would allow me to speak into French, and then Jennifer here would not have an English accent, but she would speak French and copy my French phonemes, etc. So in this case, I want to take my American accent and I want to change it to sound like somebody else. So I've chosen Jennifer here. She's slightly older than me, a Scottish woman. And I used our creative dials here, this target prosody dial and this pitch shift dial to find the perfect performance. And then I clicked synthesize, and we'll get some samples here. So just to refresh our ear, this was what was input.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
And then using Altered Studio, I've now created a new character.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
So I'm happy with that. I could go back and make some tweaks. This target prosody dial is what I call a performance blender. It allows you to mix my storytelling as Caitlin and Jennifer's natural performance and the way she tells a story. And so I've said in this conversion, I want to make her natural performance more captivating than mine, but I still want to capture the inflection and the tone and the pace that I deliver as the storyteller. Then I continue to move down. So now I want to work with second 5 till about second 10. I wanted to turn this performance into sounding like a male. So I have moved down here, and you can see that I've created a couple of different conversions to get the right one. And I have settled with Austin here. So to give you a before.
Understood, Commander. Delta 2, we need artillery support. Do you copy?
And then after.
Understood, Commander. Delta 2, we need artillery support. Do you copy?
And then I've done the same thing with the third voice here as well. I created a third character and have changed his voice. Then I decided, okay, I want to try to shape, as the creator, the person using Altered Studio, I want to shape the performance that has been given in, as well as the conversion using just the creative tools that are in Altered Studio. So I've created this initial conversion, so we can listen to this here.
Copy, and en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
But I actually want that to be a whisper. So Altered allows you to create a whisper without actually capturing that in the source voice, in that input voice. So I've come here and I've used our style changer mode, which I'll show you here. Very much like our emotive text-to-speech, this allows you to take the morphed audio, so that speech-to-speech sample, me performing, and then apply a performance that's not actually captured in the initial audio. So in this case, I did not perform a whisper, but I wanted to add a whisper. So I went through and I selected a few different styles, and we can hear them here. I've created a couple of samples. So just to remember, this was the initial morph, or initial audio, excuse me.
And en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
And then I created just one close to my performance. That's this one.
Copy, and en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
Capturing my kind of peppiness of my intonation and pace. And then I added a whisper.
Copy, and en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
And then I wanted to do a bit more positive to get that peppiness.
Copy, and en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
And then if we want to hear it all in the end, let's capture the positive whisper. We can start it all from the beginning. And what you'll hear is every single piece of edit that I've made up until this point in a 3-person dialogue.
Alpha 1, be very...
Oop, that's not the case. Let's see here.
quiet. The enemy is...
There we go. That is my fault. Now we're good to go. We should be.
Is approaching your position.
Understood, Commander.
Alpha 1, be very quiet. The enemy is approaching your position.
Understood, Commander. Delta 2, we need artillery support. Do you copy?
Copy and en route, sir. We're 10 mics out. Watch your 6.
So I know this was a super brief demo. Altered Studio is full of tricks and effects, and so much is there for a tool for a creator. But this gives you, I hope you can see the power of what this tool can do. This allowed you to create 3 different voices just using one audio and just me driving the entire performance. So you can imagine from here, I could hyper iterate, I could fine tune these voices, I could create multiple characters. We also allow you to voice to picture, so you could replace audio that's already been captured to camera and change those voices. You can dub within the software. You could create your own clone within the software, but you can use all of these tools to really create something magical and super inventive and forward thinking. And it's exciting to see how our creators are using it. So we'd love for you to hop in the studio. We have a free trial on our website. Sign up, you get it for 7 days. You get access to the majority of our tools in the software, as well as our editing effects. We have a fantastic voice cleaner, which if you're recording in a non-sound booth, just in an office or in a room, the AI voice cleaner really allows you to help create studio quality voice within just turning on a dial. So we encourage you to hop in and check us out and see how it works on your own projects.
Thanks, Caitlin. It's so interesting to see it in action. I think that's where you can really understand how powerful it is and how useful it can be. We did have a question that came through, and it's probably the right time to ask it versus later. But the question is, how nuanced can you get line by line in a script? For example, after a pause, if you want an actor's voice to sound more shaky and uncertain in response to a question, can you dial that up and down?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let me see if there's anything I can take that I can just generate here. So that's where that target prosody. So let me just show you briefly here. Let's go back to here. So I talked a little bit about that target prosody dial, and I think this is really the most important dial in the whole software for the creator who's creating the conversion themselves. This is where if that dial is closer to 0, you're saying capture all of the performance that's been put in. If you turn it closer to 100, you're really changing the input performance and shaping it to sound like this desired character. So I think when you're going, you can go kind of granularly. You could go and isolate just this word and work just with that with a different morphs. The interesting thing about working in our advanced editor is that anything I do in my history, I can export out. So I can create these 3 characters, and now what I would start doing is working more nuanced with each individual word, or making certain words more pronounced the way that I would want them to, or sound a difference. With speech to speech, there's always an element of changing that input voice and changing that performance, because really that human storytelling is what this is, all this technology is all working on, is that characterization that's being put in. But there definitely is some dials in the software to get quite granular, as well as when text to speech of working on a whole line and changing those emotions line by line. It's a little bit of a mixture between understanding and working with the models and the dials, and again, that input performance. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's really useful. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. I'll just stop sharing my screen and kick over to the deck again. Does that work for you, Harriet, or did you have any questions while we were here in the product?
No, I mean, I don't have anything specific. I mean, I'm just always so amazed at the quality of the output after they've been synthesized. Like, I think we all kind of sit here and imagine voice AI and to kind of sound robotic, and I think that's what our level of expectation probably has been for a long time. But this is honestly, it sounds so real, and it's amazing that you can do that just with your your voice and that one performance and change it in so many different ways. I did have a question which is probably relevant to this part here.
Awesome.
And one of the use cases that you mentioned earlier was dubbing. And so could you, I mean, we do a lot of language, like localizing edits with different languages, and we'll record VOs in different languages and that sort of thing for different markets. Is that something that you can use Altered for different language localizations?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's kind of two ways you can create dubbing scenarios with this tech. So one is speech to speech and one is text to speech. Text to speech in the software, I'll just show you quickly here. We have the ability to, you would load the file or load a CSV file of text, and then you would transcribe that file. You could then translate that. So you can see right here within the workstation itself that I would choose a source language. The software will also pick up what has been put in if it's in English. And then I could choose a target language to translate this to. And then it would create my transcription based on the language that I've chosen. And then I can start working with text-to-speech models. So we we host a lot of third-party text-to-speech providers that are all multilingual. So it'll allow you to work directly with a text-to-speech that's been purpose-built in that language and then apply it here. So you could do everything from import the audio or the script, translate it, transcribe it, translate it, then create the voiceover content. And then I think another interesting layer is voice morphing. So what I would then suggest is dropping it into the voice morphing side of the platform, creating a voice morph, and then choosing one of our voices in our library to kind of really provide a realism, a storytelling, because speech to speech, again, is capturing the performance and then translating that across. So if you turn that target prosody dial quite high, you're infusing the performances that we've captured of our voices that are based off of really incredible voice actors. So you're elevating, if you will, that traditional text to speech. That's how you would work with it in a text to speech pipeline. The other way is to have one voice that you use across all of your projects. For example, if you're creating e-learning content for multiple different languages, then you could change out your voice actor. So whether you speak multiple languages or you work with a couple of different voice actors who speak those languages, you could have them all performing in their native language, but you could have their final voiceover content all be in the same character. So for example, if we head over to the library here, all of your projects could be voiced by Austin, but Austin, when we use our speech-to-speech in Timber 2.5, our Timber 2.5 model is a multilingual model. As long as you change that source voice to be a French speaker, an Italian speaker, a German speaker, then you're capturing the inflection in the phonemes of those languages, but allowing it to be all in one voice.
So it would be Austin's voice, but it would just be changed into whatever language you need.
Yeah,
so the consistency would be there across the whole range, essentially.
Because what it's doing is it's capturing my performance in another language. So if I was a fluent Italian speaker, I would, speak Italian in a very specific way. And then it's applying Austin's vocal characteristics. So these are things like his age, his gender. Some of us have what we would call vocal fry in the voice, or in the platform, we call it vocal creak. It's a creakiness. I like to say, if you've listened to Kim Kardashian's voice, it has that sound down in here. It's a very Cali girl. We have more of it in America than other places. And so that voice is a color that is very identifying to us as humans. And so you would bring those qualities of Austin's voice, but use it in a bunch of different languages, because that's based on that source voice, that performer, that storyteller.
And you have 20 professional voices at the moment. Do you have plans to kind of have more? Or
Yeah, so right now we have 20 professional voices that are really robust models, and then we have 800 plus common voices for anyone to use in the platform. This is common. So if you're on the streets of New York City, it's going to have a lot of different vocal characteristics, different qualities, etc. So we always say that these are great with our game clients, NPCs, again, that loop group if you're doing working on film, just providing bits of voices here and there. I would say our professional voices are really great for narration. But for right now, this is what we have, and we'll grow from there.
And Caitlin, you said that you guys kind of offer this bespoke voice creation service as well. So, for example, could you do all of this but with a voice that we chose? Like maybe that was a voiceover artist that we had worked with before, and we had an agreement with them, and that we could create a model based off their voice for potentially, you know, like a branded piece of work, and we wanted to maintain the same voice throughout all of that. Is that something that we could do with you guys?
Absolutely. So this is when we get to that digital twin, right? And how we're offering that currently is we do that by a bespoke service. And we also are in a beta allowing you to be able to build that locally on your own desktop, so that you yourself would put the training data in and train those models at production quality. That process is a creative process where we work with the client and, of course, the voice owner to make sure that everyone is on the same page. We would take a series of data from you that's in the performance type that you need for the project. And then we would work to create that model. And then you would have access to that model in the very similar way as you would have access to these voices in the library. You can see that there's a custom voice tab here. If you had any custom voice created, your library, your model would live solely and exclusively in your library for you to then create conversions, just like I did with Austin and Jennifer and Kamal in the last demo. So you would use it just like our professional voices. And I think if that is something that you and your client are looking to do, that it's always great to test out our professional models so you understand how the process works. And then, get in touch with us, and we're always happy to talk about that.
Brilliant. I think there's definitely use cases, and it's an amazing thing to be able to offer to clients, right? It kind of also leads me on to my next question, Caitlin, which is for say you were creating a voice based off somebody's real voice or their real performance. What measures do you have in place to protect voice talent and their rights? Because I'm sure that's a question that comes up all the time. And also, where can you then go and use voices that are created in the studio?
Yeah, great question. I'll start with the end of that question because that's easier than the beginning. So all the voices, the professional voices that you see in our library, our subscription levels have different commercial licensing. We've done that on purpose so that if you are just starting a project and you're really using it for scratch VO, or you're early in your business phase or your development phase, we have some licenses for that have parameters around the project revenue size and the amount of team members you have, et cetera. If you're on a professional plan, which is kind of the plan that I think we have a lot of creators on, that allows commercial licensing on any voices that or voiceover conversions that you're making in the software using our professional voices or common voices. So that gives you a wide variety, and you can use it in commercial projects. To answer your first question, of course, this tech is growing at rapid pace, and ethicalness is something that needs to be of high concern. When we create voices, we ensure that the client that we're working with has consent from the voice owner to create that voice. And that's part of this process of developing the voice, receiving the data, doing a feasibility study to see if that data is viable to create a model. And then, of course, if a client wants to move forward, creating that model itself and then deploying it into your account. So that's definitely baked into that process.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really reassuring for us to know as well. And obviously there's been some stuff in the news recently that we've been talking about as well, from Meta and YouTube about declaring synthesized voices in work so that people are aware, and that that it's all been done ethically and properly. So I think that's really reassuring to know that it's something that's baked into the tool in this process as well, at the different tiers that you can use it at. So shall I kick over back to the slides then? I think
Sure.
that feels like a good time. Give me 2 seconds.
I'll stop sharing my screen.
you. I'm not sure if do we have any more questions from anyone on the call? If not, then Caitlin, I know you had a little surprise to share with everyone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everyone stuck around. And if you did, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time. We know it's getting towards the end of the year, which is always super busy, especially for the creative community. So really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. If you're here and you're on the webinar, we would love to offer you a first month subscription to our creator plan at only £1 or USD if you're in the States. So please do use this coupon code. It's MoLabs. It'll be available for a limited time for anyone who's on this call today, on this webinar. And that allows you to have a whole month to test out our voices and really understand what we do and how we do it and see how they work in your workflows as well. And then if you're interested in a trial, always feel free to head over to Altered.ai. We've got a ton of information around who we are, the different services and tools that we provide. We have some help centers, some FAQs on there. We have blogs. And then, of course, you can sign up for a free trial, 7-day trial directly from the website and go ahead and get started and test out some voice content on your side. That would allow you to test out the post-production, so most of what we focused on today, as well as our brand new tech, which is the real time, which is quite exciting, and then as well as rapid voice cloning. So we hope you swing by, check us out, and sign up for a trial.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. That's brilliant and very kind and generous of you guys. Thank you so much. I can't wait to get my hands on that real-time stuff, because that's the thing I'm yet to play with. So just you wait.
Excellent. Excellent. We're going to be on a call next time, sounding like two completely different people having this kind of conversation.
Exactly. Cool. So I think that's all. I think we can see, like, this is where we can connect with you. The guys know where they can
Absolutely.
go, get their hands on the tool. But just to round off, thank you so much for your time and for taking us through the platform. It really is amazing, and I get so excited about all the different ways that we could use it, and I can certainly see the ways that we can apply it as creatives and producers here at MoFilm, and I'm sure that our community will as well. So thank you for enlightening us to the non-robotic sounding voice AI.
Of course. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out directly. Always happy to help. I hope to see some of you in the product, and then we can always, it's been great getting to know both of you ladies, lovely ladies, and we're looking forward to seeing how else we can work together in the future, especially with the MoFilm creative community. We're always happy to see how creators are using this tech. So do give us a shout if you start using the Altered Studio and see how it can impact your workflows. Please do drop us a note. We always love to see how creators are using it, and we love to hear it and see it. There's so much creativity out there, and it's nice to be a small little piece of adding and providing these tools for creators.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Couldn't agree more. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. For this video, sorry, is going to go up on our YouTube channel afterwards, so you can come back, watch it again, or catch up, share it with people who couldn't attend today at this time. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, and hang tight for the next episode in the new year of MoLabs Season 2. Okay, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Bye.
Bye.